After watching this video, you will know how to train the biceps to get the best arm gains, best exercises, best techniques, sets and reps, but more importantly, the biggest mistakes to avoid. It has two heads, the short and the long one, and luckily on my right arm I have a pretty good separation to show it. As a disclaimer, you can't train for separation, that is genetic, and I only have it on my right arm, and it has a simple function of supinating your wrist and flexing your elbow, and it also does weak shoulder flexion and arm external rotation. But these are not functions that are going to give you biceps gains. Remember that. These are almost as weak as your calf size.
I'm sorry. Is this painful for you to talk about? Oh, well.
And the boring biology part is over. And since nobody cares about that, just about getting jacked, let's go over the mistakes. And this is by far the biggest gain killer, and I call it the elbow swinger. There is literally no bending or getting your arm straight. It is locked in one angle and you are just swinging the weight up. And this is used by gym bros who want to feel special. And they want to feel like they're using heavy weight. And they do. And for their effort, they get a big fuck all. Second mistake is the shoulder raisers. As I said it, this function is as weak as your calves, so you should treat it as that. Skip it. Your shoulders and upper chest are doing this function, and yes, you will feel your biceps more, but feeling doesn't equal gains. This will limit the amount of weight you can use and the potential to push it to failure. You should decide whether you are training your biceps or not. Third one, bottom position cheating. Believe it or not, this is not a big mistake, nor can I say that it is a mistake. The only reason it is difficult is because you have no leverage to start the motion. I encourage everybody to try and train for it because it is beneficial in the long run. But I would say not to stress it when you get really close to failure and beyond, because this is not the challenging part that is going to stimulate your biceps, but we will get to that. Wrist flexing. This was passed on like a disease, as too much forearm involvement is going to take away the work from your biceps. And that is not true. These two functions are completely separated. You don't have to curl your wrist at the top of the lift, but it is also not going to kill your biceps gains. This is around a mid to light mistake. And now comes the best technique, and that is... there isn't any. I'm sorry. I lied at the intro. However, that is a good thing, because as long as you are curling your arm and you are not using too much elbow swaying, you are good. But there is a misconception to clear. This is like a folk tale that keeping your arm closer to your body will cover the short head and will bias and emphasize the long head more. And if you are rotating your arm out, that will uncover the short head and will be biased over the long one. And well, this is the other way around, actually. Best sets and reps. And if you've been watching me, you know what I'm going to say. Anything builds muscle in the 5 to 35 rep ranges, but you will need at least 5 reps to get the most effective reps within one set. And for the sets, if you do 6 to 9 weekly sets, that's plenty, especially if you take it to failure. And since this is a joint-friendly exercise, I encourage everybody to take it to failure and beyond, because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You either fail or you manage to do the last rep. And now comes my top 3 biceps exercises in no particular order. Standing biceps curl with barbell. It doesn't need to be fancy and it works. I hate to disappoint everybody, but if you work the way up to a respectable weight, unlike your calves, your arms are going to earn some respect. Remember not to make the mistakes I was talking about in the beginning, and take the sets to failure. And if you want to get some biasing, you can use different widths on the bar. But the question is, how much bias do you get? It is not going to blow the short or the long head out of proportion. It is just something you can play around and progress within a mesocycle. Seated biceps curl. And keep the dumbbell supinated the entire time, but if you don't do that, that's completely fine as well. You can also bias here by keeping the dumbbell's path strictly in front of your body or out to the side, but you want to make sure that you are standardizing your form just so you can track your progress. On the side note, if you start to fail the exercise, you will notice that your arm is going to drift away more and more just because it wants to involve your short head more. What does it mean? It just means that your short head is going to be involved more because it is not as fatigued. And some say that to keep the pinky at the top. Guys, it is not as important. As long as you are keeping your arm supinated, it is going to be biceps. You can also use the alternating variation, and that will let you focus on one arm more, and it is going to be slightly better than the double arm one, but it is not going to make or break your gains. But do you want to know the boring biology behind it? No, you just want to get jacked. And the third is the arm supported biceps curl. And what is special about this? The arm support. You can use a wall, a rail, or even a bar. This will limit the amount of elbow sway you get. And that is it. This is by no means better or worse than the other variations. It is just that, a variation. And remember, you can't stay weaker if you want to grow. This gets lost as you try to experiment with new things like exercises, techniques and intensifiers. But big biceps means nothing without matching abs, so make sure to watch this video next, like, subscribe and talk to you in the next one.